guys, it's Caden. Welcome to another Autism Digest interview, where today we have someone who I'm really excited to talk to. She's a notable figure in the pro-life movement who's made a name for herself in the world of art, the amazing Elise Ketch. Thanks for coming on, Elise.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, for those that may not know you, do you mind starting us off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Again, my name's Elise Ketch, and I'm best known as the leftist pro-lifer, or one of them. I'm a consistent life ethic advocate. I worked with Progressive Anti-Abortion Uprising for a little bit. I'm not associated with them anymore, but now I'm working with the Center for Medical Progress and David Daleiden. I just released a documentary with him on the Clementine case. It's called What Happened to Clementine, and that's about a little girl in the second trimester who was harvested for organs. And yeah, really horrific stuff. So I do a little bit of that. I've also been known to cause some stir with my civil disobedience and my parents being visited by the FBI. So those are probably my best known things.
Mm, FBI one's definitely interesting. Can you explain what exactly happened?
Yeah, so back in 2023, I was living with Lauren Handy, and Lauren Handy was being put on trial for a rescue that was done at an abortion clinic in 2020. And so the FBI was investigating her. I think they wanted to intimidate me and my family and try to get information out of me about what Lauren had done and what, she had told me. So they sent FBI agents to my parents' house and they were asking for me, and I didn't live there anymore. And I'm sure that the FBI knew that. And the only explanation is that they were there to intimidate my family. And so I went to the news with that. It went pretty viral, and that's pretty much the story.
That's definitely interesting. I'll have to look up that news story, which transitions beautifully into my next question for you. Do you have any experiences interacting with the autism community that you want to talk about?
Sure. I have family members who are mildly autistic. I'm sorry, that's my cat. Um, let's see. I also just have many friends who are autistic. My best friends, in fact, are autistic. There's some question as to if I have some autism symptoms, but I don't have a diagnosis of that. I'm diagnosed with ADHD. And yeah, I that would be the most intimate extent of my experience with autism. But we have lots of pro-life autism advocates. A lot of the best pro-lifers out there are autistic, so I've interacted with a lot of them as well.
Exactly. I recently filmed an interview with Brian Kemper that'll come out around Pro Life Month, and he's on the spectrum. Which I didn't know until I met Adam. So, I definitely respect that more autistic voices are involved in this movement. Speaking of, transitioning into that for a little bit, what do you think the pro life movement needs to understand about the experiences and perspectives of autistic and other neurodivergent people?
Um, I think they need to be way more patient with us. Part of this is that it's a very difficult social issue, which means that we end up, especially in like protest situations, in difficult to navigate social situations. And sometimes, that can result in our neurodivergent friends getting overstimulated or not knowing how to respond properly to the moment. And people get really flustered with them or really, impatient. And I think that's not fair. And we need to support the strengths of neurodivergent people more and especially cater to them because they're such strong advocates.
I absolutely agree with that. I loved how you went beyond the movement and emphasized the importance of being catering to the neurodivergent community and protest settings in general. I think we should apply that everywhere, which transitions beautifully into my next question for you. How do you think society's attitudes towards disability influence decisions parents make after receiving a prenatal diagnosis?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's terrible. we have such a eugenic based society where if you have a diagnosis of maybe Down syndrome or a different disability, and that diagnosis does usually happen around the 20-week mark with the amniocentesis. Then they end up aborting their baby in a later abortion, and how those are done are just so barbaric. You either have to, dismember the baby alive, or you bleed them out and then you dismember them, or you give them a lethal injection that'll give them probably some sort of what is it called? Not a stroke.
Cardiac arrest.
What was that?
Cardiac arrest.
Yeah, it'll give them cardiac arrest, but no, it does something else before that. It gives them the thing where you're twitching a lot. I forget what that's called. Sorry. It doesn't matter. Anyhow, yeah, it's gonna be a really horrific death. And then there's other chemicals that will take hours to kill the baby, or they're actually, human rights and animal rights groups have petitioned against them. So it's a really terrible way to die. There's no kind way to kill a baby. There's actually no such thing as euthanasia. There's no such thing as a good death. It's always going to be a lot of suffering as the baby dies. So I think those things should not happen. I don't think we should look at that as a solution to disability. I don't think a horrible death is better than a disabled life.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what people need to understand, especially with the multitude of resources that are out there for especially the autism community specifically, which transitions beautifully into my next question for you. How can the pro life movement better support families raising autistic or otherwise disabled children, particularly when faced with financial, educational, or caregiving challenges?
Specifically pro-life families.
uh, or families in general? How can the movement support those families facing those difficulties?
Yeah, well, we need to have better social care nets, I think, and that's something that our movement struggles with because, we're more aligned with the conservative side of things. So it's we tend to want to limit that and keep government funds away from that because we don't want to increase taxes and things like that. And I think that that's a worthy place to increase taxes personally. I think that if we can support families with children with diagnoses, that's a better thing to do. And yeah, just the movement should be, like I said, just more aware and more informed about autism in general, and that way we can empathize more with families that are struggling with that. Like I could imagine a parent who already has an autistic child and then gets pregnant might want to abort their baby because they're already so overwhelmed with their autistic child. And it's like if we could have pro-lifers that step up and say, I can help you caretake for this autistic child, and they already know how to do that kind of caretaking because they're well informed, that would be stellar. But we'd have to have way more people interested in getting trained in that.
Exactly. And I'll add, it's on the government, I would say, to implement those training programs or increase funding for them. Because as an autistic individual myself, I think back in the 2000s when I was diagnosed, 2006 specifically, there could have been a use for new parent training programs for neurodivergent individuals specifically. So I definitely like your idea.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's going to do it for the interview, guys. Thanks so much to Elise for coming on and sharing her perspectives. If you guys want to see more amazing interviews, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Autism Digest channel. Pick up our latest issue, perfect for all your back to school needs, and which you can get by going to autismdigest.com. And stay tuned for the audio file of this interview to be posted on our Spotify. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.